Most people think trauma looks obvious, something dramatic, something visible, something you can point to. But sometimes trauma looks like success. It looks like productivity. It looks like holding everything together while quietly disconnecting from yourself. Today, I'm speaking to someone who spent years in the corporate world doing exactly what many of us are taught to do. You keep going, you keep performing, and you keep achieving until she realized she had learned how to survive, but not how to feel. And that realization changed the direction of her life completely. Shannon Grace, welcome to Voices Unfiltered. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much, Vishen. I'm so happy to be here. It's such an honor.
Well, the honor's all mine because I've been hearing just good things about you the whole week. So super, super excited to have you on. Shannon, before healing became your work, it was something you needed for yourself. What was happening in your life at that time that made you realize something had to change?
That's a big question because if you roll back the footage on your life, you have to think about at this point, where did that spark happen? Where did the epiphany happen where you're like, something has to change in my life? And as you're going through life, so I grew up in a trauma-filled home. Both parents were abusive. And so just going through every day, I didn't realize my nervous system was in fight or flight all the time. And even now I have to go, okay, where are your shoulders? Where's your jaw? Is it clenched? I have to always remind myself, like, I'll be sitting on the couch just looking at my phone and I'll be squeezing my arms. And so it's something I need to work on every day because I've been conditioned. My nervous system has been conditioned to be in fight or flight constantly, hypervigilance, looking for what's going to be behind my back, who's going to do this to me. I was just constantly afraid. And that was through adulthood as well, but I didn't know any different because it's just all I knew. And so going back to my work, I started in corporate voice over IP telephones. It was way back when your desk phone finally got on your hip. Now everybody has an iPhone or Samsung, but back in the day, you didn't have that. You had to be on your desk to be on the phone, or it would be on the wall. So I started in this really cool time where technology was taking off, and I climbed the corporate ladder pretty fast and went into sales and made President's Club and got to go to St. John's a bunch of times and got my awards and my bonuses, and it was super fun. And then I met my husband and I had my two boys. And so after my second son was born, I was like, you know what? I want to stay home. I want to raise my kids and not have the nanny do it. So I quit my job, and then staying home, I just couldn't keep still. And so I thought up an idea. I brought it to market, and then I had that business for about 12, 13 years. And then COVID closed that door. So I'm an entrepreneur as well, and not really thinking about healing because you just keep going and you work with the tools that you have, and you don't even realize I didn't know my nervous system was stuck in fight or flight. I knew the abuse that I had, but I'm like, well, I guess my soul asked for this lesson, and I'm just gonna deal with it the best I can, but not realizing I'm attracting the same type of people in my life, the same type of partners, the same situations with just a different face. And so going through this healing journey, in retrospect, I'm like, oh, okay, now I realize like why I was attracting the same situations, the same partners, the same type friends, people who would just like take, 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 and I would give, 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 give. Because growing up the way I did with an abuse, if the other person was okay because you're either hiding or you're making sure they're okay, you're safe. And so I was doing it with every relationship. I was like, okay, I'm going to cater to you and your needs. What are my needs? I don't even know what they are. I don't even know what my needs are, but I'm going to cater to your needs because it's going to keep me safe. And so when you attract people like that, they're the ones who are like the narcissists, the takers, and they love people who are like me, who are very empathic, very caring, very giving, but then we give too much where it has to, you don't have anything to give at a certain point. And then that's when you draw the line, but it takes years and years and years sometimes. It did for me to realize what I was doing. And throughout life, like now I can see how it played out and why it played out. And so you don't beat yourself up. Now you have to give yourself grace because I'm like, okay, that Shannon 10, 13, 14 years prior didn't know any better. I didn't have the tools. I tried traditional therapy, but it just didn't work. I didn't connect with people. I didn't feel safe enough to tell my story. And I just wasn't honest with the therapist because I was embarrassed. I was like, they're going to think I'm weird or bad or something's wrong with me. And so talking therapy never worked. I tried EMDR where they do, your eye movements and you don't even have to talk about your trauma. That didn't work. I finally found meditation. So I heard of transcendental meditation and I saw it on the news. It was like Good Morning America, and Jerry Seinfeld was being interviewed with, I can't remember the doctor, but he wrote a book on TM. And Jerry Seinfeld, Martin Scorsese, like all these huge celebrities are like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do my work without transcendental meditation. And I'm like, what is this? So I started going down that rabbit hole of reading all these books and researching, like, what is it and what is it doing? So it's literally rewiring your brain circuitry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the worst anxiety. I have social anxiety. After I stayed home with my boys and letting go of my job, it got worse because I was in this bubble of being home and I just had my kids at home. And I wouldn't even go to like the mommy kid groups because I just have the worst anxiety. So it got worse because I created this bubble of safety for myself because my nervous system felt safe with nobody else around, but it was to my detriment. So after I got a divorce and it was time to go back into the workforce, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to function. How am I going to go to a job interview? I've been out of work for so long. I did start my business, but it was my business and I was doing it out of my home. Like I was the only employee. If I had one or two employees, they were my friends. So I'm like, I have to go back to corporate and to job interview and to sit at a cubicle again and have to interact. I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I learned transcendental meditation and it literally rewired my brain. I'm a changed human for doing meditation. And so the analogy is, if you're in the ocean, if anybody's ever swam in the ocean and you're at the top and it's turbulent and you're bobbing up and down, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so turbulent. If you've ever taken a deep breath, plugged your nose and went down underneath and submerged yourself, how it's calm. And then all the turbulence is gone and there's just like quiet. That's what it's training your brain to do constantly by itself because you're training those neural pathways to go from turbulence to calm. And the more you do it with TM, you're supposed to do it twice a day for 20 minutes, once in the morning, once in the evening. Of course, I don't have really time to do it that much, but I do try to meditate every day. And like this morning, I woke up at probably 3 or 4. I've been doing that lately. And so I got up for a little bit, had my tea, pulled some cards because I do oracle and tarot cards and just to get like spirit, what do you want to tell me at the moment? Pretty much got the same type cards with the 4 decks that I pulled. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to put on some hemi-sync music, which by the Monroe Institute, they do this hemi-sync. It's kind of like binaural beats and you have to put the headphones or the earbuds in and it does different beats at different hertz and it really puts you in a trance, and they use it for the CI. And this one is called Dream Seed and it really puts me in a different realm, time and space. And so I love when I really need a deep either sleep or meditation. And so I did it this morning and I'm just like, okay, I'm a new person. But it also opened up, oh my gosh, because I asked questions from spirit. What? Because I have dreams at night. They're very, very, very vivid and they're prophetic sometimes. They'll tell me what's going to happen in the future and also what's going on in my subconscious mind that I need to work on. So I had a dream the other night that was really like, I'm not sure what that one meant. Can you give me more clarity? So I set the intention with my meditation this morning and it just kept coming up saying trust the process, trust the chaos that's going on in your life right now because there's a beauty in the chaos. And it was a woman's voice and she came in and I wrote it on my phone because it's like a dream where it fades very quickly. But the whole meditation is on trust what's going on right now and trust that you're going to be okay and trust in yourself and trust in the divine that the chaos that's happening, there's a reason for it and there's knowledge to learn from it. I'm like, oh, okay. So meditation has really, really, really changed my life and opened up new stuff for me spiritually, for myself and for my clients. And then it took me, once you start in that, I don't know, like I call it the gateway drug. It's like you start with that. And then I got called to Reiki. And so I'm Reiki master level 3, and that was energy work. And I was like, what is this? Like once you get opened up for Reiki, they open up those channels within you. And I'm not sure if you know what it is, but it's an ancient Japanese energy healing modality where they open up those channels for you through each level. And it gets channeled through your crown chakra and it goes down, your third eye, your throat, your heart, and then your hands. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is it? Like, I have wizard hands. I'm like, I can feel energy coming out. And then when I place it on people, they can feel the energy. And sometimes it was so strong. Reiki's smart. It knows what to do and where to go. Like, you just are a clear channel. And like, some people would like jolt and like electric shocks through their body. Other people are like, I feel like I was levitating off the table. Other people are like, I felt buzzing. I felt warmth. Like, I'll be way off your head and it'll feel like an oven. And it's not life force energy. I'm not here. It's way up here. And so, and so I started with Reiki and I was like, okay, I want to learn more stuff. And so I was just, okay, pure bioenergy, which is another modality. My current one is somatic energy healing. Breathwork facilitator, meditation facilitator, sound healer, and death doula. And so it just opened up this world. And I love astrology. I study astrology. I love numerology. Just anything esoteric and like arcane knowledge that you kind of have to sift through and then go down that rabbit hole. I'm like, wow, it's so, I never get tired of it. And then tapping into myself somatically now, because with all the trauma that I went through, I would exit my body. This is never safe to be in a body. And like, bodies are not safe. It's not fun to be in a body. And so my soul would exit. But I didn't know I was doing that until this current teacher that I'm learning somatic energy healing from, he was like, he has to go way off my body to work on me because my soul is floating way out there. And so he's working on, and I'm working on integrating my spirit, my soul with my body, saying it's safe to be in here now. It actually should be fun. Like, go out and dance, go out and sing, go to the beach, like, enjoy your food, because our souls wanted to incarnate at this space and time to help the energy of the universe ascend to the higher, the new earth that we're going on, but also to enjoy a body, like eating ice cream, as we were talking about earlier, eating your favorite food, petting your dog, hugging your loved one. That's what being in a body is all about, is enjoying it. But I didn't know to enjoy it because it's been a source of pain my entire life. So coming back to my body and actually feeling grounded and safe. I had a lot of work to do, and I'm still going to probably for the rest of my life, is connecting with my body, telling my nervous system, you're safe. But I'm okay with doing that, meditating, because I know how it feels to not do that, and I know how it feels to do that. And I'm okay with, it's just like taking a shower every day or brushing your teeth. You kind of, it's just like spiritual hygiene, it's called. So constantly working on yourself because you know the benefit for yourself, but also your family. Like, I have 2 boys, they're older now, they're 25 and almost 23. And then my family lineage, like, when you work on yourself, it's trickle down effect to your kids, your mom, your dad, your grandma, grandpa, great grandma, like all your ancestors that you haven't even met yet. Once you heal that, everything's energy. So that line of lineage gets healing as well. So it's not only about you, it's about your whole family line. So it's much bigger than just us. So that's a big explanation for your one question.
Wow. Wow. No, but it's given rise to a lot of other questions. And I was fortunate enough to have a doctor in stem cell regeneration.
Wow.
And I asked him, what are the things, where does one start to heal? And he said there are 2 things. And the first thing he mentioned was spirituality. And you said meditation. And him being a doctor of science said meditation. And he says, you start there, and then we look at stem cell regeneration. Because if your
Wow.
mind starts and you bring all that, pretty much if you bring yourself towards yourself, I guess, if you want to call it that. So I found it very interesting. But you said you also meditate at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Why 3 or 4? Why can't you just meditate at 11 o'clock in the morning?
It wasn't by choice. Spirit wakes me up. Spirit wakes me up to remember, a lot of times to remember a dream. And so I get woken up and I'm like, whoa, that was really, oh, I need to remember that. And then I can't go to sleep after that. So it's not by choice. I mean, it's quiet and it's like, once you're up, you're up. And so I think my circadian rhythm is changing because I've always been a night owl where I'll get a second wind and I'll stay up really late and then I'll sleep later in the morning. When I have my own business, like, I was able to do that. Now I have a job at a wellness center, plus I have private clients. So some days I'm able to do that, but I keep waking up like really early, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And I'm like, okay, this isn't just because I'm very sensitive to the moon cycles. When there's a full moon or a new moon, I can't sleep that week before. The energy is so intense and it really affects me, but then I'll be fine after that. But I'm like, this is not going away. This has been for like over a month that I keep waking up at the same times. I'm like, okay, I think my body is changing and I think I need to go to bed earlier because my body is waking up at that time and I don't want to, but it just is. But it actually is like they say it's best to meditate first thing in the morning, no matter what time you wake up, because you're still in that theta alpha brainwave state. And so when you're in, let's just say alpha, where it's your body's still relaxed, but then your mind's awake, but it's still kind of sleepy, that's the best time to meditate because meditation takes you into alpha and theta. And so when you're in that state, it's just easier to like slip right in. And then your mind isn't going yet. It's still calm and it's still in that state of sleepiness. And that's when you have clarity. That's when you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Or your mind is clear to get on with your day. So they say that's the best time. And when I would wake up later in the morning, I'm like, I don't have time to meditate. Like, I want my coffee or my tea, and I want to look up my phone and see who texts me and emails and Instagram. And that's so unhealthy. And I knew that, but my body's telling me, no, Shannon, you need to change. And so it's doing it for me. So sometimes the universe will do that. They're like, no, you're not listening. I'm going to do it. So I'm like, okay, I have to listen to my body because I keep going to bed later and I'm not getting enough sleep. And I'm like, something has to change. I do. I have to go to bed earlier. But once you're up, it's just like the most beautiful time. It's quiet. At least I live alone now. And so there's like nobody. It's quiet. And then they say now this is by Dr. Huberman. He's a neuroscientist. And you need the morning sun first thing when the sun comes up in your eyes. And so sit outside, ground your feet on the earth, get the Schumann resonance, and then close your eyes and have the sun directly on your eyes, but closed. And it raises your cortisol levels first thing in the morning. And so by the time the day ends and the sun sets, then you get sleepy and your cortisol levels drop. And then is it melatonin? Yeah, melatonin floods your brain and it's time for bed. And so they're learning, and the more I'm listening to podcasts on naturopath doctors, and they're like, yeah, your eyes need to see and to get the stimulation from the sun first thing in the morning when it comes up, and then your eyes need to see the sunset. And then we're supposed to rise when the sun rises, and we're supposed to go to bed pretty much like when the sun goes down, which is hard for a lot of people. But I'm like, there's something to that, and my body is changing to that. So because I'm watching the sunrise now, and I'm like, I used to hate getting up early. I'm like, no way. Who does that? Who gets up that early? I'm like, well, I am now, and it's not by choice. But I think my body's naturally telling me you need to change and this is going to be healthy for you. So that's when I surrender and I listen because your body has this innate wisdom and we talk ourselves out of it. And so we need to start listening to our body. And that's where somatic energy healing, and I'm listening to my body more. I'm connecting to my body and I'm listening to it now. And it's like, wow, you are so wise. And I've shut that off for so long for survival. So it wasn't my fault, but I'm safe now and I can connect to my body and boy, is it wise. And I'm listening.
You know, a lot of the Eastern philosophy and Eastern religions pretty much preach a lot of the things you say. One would be meditation early parts of the morning because the earth is still very still. And that's pretty much just before the sun comes up. And like you said, 4 a.m. And of course, a lot of them either pray to the sun or stand in front of the sun to absorb its maximum benefits. And it's got to be done pretty much first thing in the morning. So obviously there's some truth. And I know you mentioned some doctors, and obviously that's some scientific evidence. And then you've got the religions and the philosophies that go back thousands of years, and they've been preaching that forever, including meditation and everything else. So definitely there is some truth to it. Absolutely. But looking at meditation, can the trauma still live in your body, even though your mind thinks it's moved on? So you would meditate and you're working a lot on your mind and your spirit, but can that trauma still live in your body? And I know you made reference to your shoulders being hunched or higher up, and you got to be conscious of that.
Yeah.
So can trauma still live in the body?
Definitely. And so that's what I learned with some somatic energy healing. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And throughout life, when we have emotionally charged situations that we don't express those emotions, that energy gets stuck in your body somatically. And so you have all these adaptation patterns. There's 7 of them, and they all mean something different. Adaptation pattern 5, which I constantly am in, it's suppression of the emotion, and it's thinking too much. Like when you have ruminating thoughts and then you don't feel the emotion. And there's different adaptation patterns for different things, but everything's energy, and energy cannot be destroyed, it cannot be created, it's just there. And so when you even have a thought, that's energy. And so when you have a thought, sometimes that creates like physical response in your body. So a thought your brain doesn't know the difference between a thought and something really happening. And yes, it gets stored in your body, and it either causes physical pain or it causes you to view your life through that lens. So there's another pattern that's adaptation pattern 6, and it's living, something happened to you, like you're a victim. And sometimes that is happen, like something did happen. So you got hit by a car and your neck is messed up now. Like that person hit me, that happened to me. But if you don't release that emotion, you're going to view your life through a whole lens of like, everybody's doing something to me and I'm a victim, and you did that to me and you did that to me. And unless that energy is liberated, you're going to view your life through that lens for the rest of your life. And so he's not a doctor. Michael Singer wrote a book called The Surrender Experiment, and he calls them samskaras. So samskaras are mental impressions and recollections or psychological imprints that shape thoughts, actions, and the development of karma that are essentially deeply ingrained patterns of behavior, thoughts, and emotion that influence now and the individual perceives and interacts with the world. So that's the same thing as an adaptation pattern that Dr. Amaral came up with. Michael Singer calls them samskaras. There's another healer, Charlie Goldsmith. He calls them splits, and he just wrote a book on splits. And that's same thing. These doctors, or these healers and doctors, are talking about the same thing, just with different terminology. And unless that energy is liberated, it'll stay somatically stuck in your body. And so a lot of like autoimmune disease, a lot of women have autoimmune, and that's suppression of emotions. Or scoliosis. A lot of women have scoliosis. A lot of little girls have scoliosis because they're supposed to be seen and not heard. You're supposed to be the good girl and not argue. And so that distorts your spine and for the rest of your life until, that energy is liberated. So it affects you more than you know. Your emotions are so powerful. They can put you in that state of adaptation patterns or samskaras, or you can take you out of it. And so your mind is so powerful, and you have the choice whether to ignore all of that and live the way you're living, or like I have done, like do the work. And so you can come to me, somebody like me as a healer, and I can give you a session on the table, give you somatic energy healing. I can give you Reiki, pure bioenergy, sound healing, whatever you need. But it's what you do off the table is what is going to have lasting effect, because you can have a state change on the table and feel amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt it liberate out of my body and I felt amazing. But then if you keep with the same patterns through your day and day, it's just going to come back, or something else will happen and you'll go into a new pattern. So you have to keep this work going on your own as well. So I love to give tools and tips to my clients, like, okay, we had a great session on my table, but here's what you can do off of my table. And if everybody because when I see people and you can even hear the way they talk, I can tell what pattern you're in. And I'm like, gosh, I can help you so much. And I offer even for free because I have just this bleeding heart to help people. And then they won't take me up on it. And I'm like, okay, that's your journey. That's where myself as a healer, I have to draw the line and be like, okay, Shannon, you can't help everybody. Everybody's on their own path, their own journey, and they're just not ready. And so I have to like let it go, because I'm like, oh God, I can help you so much and this will like change your life. But I'm like, okay, let it go. They'll come when it's time. And then you just focus on the people who are ready. But yeah, definitely the body keeps the score, and it doesn't just go away on its own.
And when you say the body keeps a score, and I know you made reference to females in particular with emotions, and I was fortunate to have a conversation with a clinical psychologist, and the topic was men raising boys. And one of the things she brought up was how as boys you are taught not to cry. You're just a boy, and you would get the little scruffle on your head. Go off and play now. You're going to be fine. Whereas you found girls seem to be more nurtured or natured, whichever way you want to call it. And I mean, do you see that emotion also playing out in men, particularly those who've had childhood trauma?
Yeah. Yes, and I think it's very, very sad. And men, I wanna say men who are 50 plus, it's like they have the most suicide rate. They've and I have 2 boys, and it's scary because, it's like I only had my tools in my tool belt when I was raising them, and I let them cry and stuff like that, but I'm sure, like, as a parent, you did stuff that you didn't know you were doing, and so I see it all the time with men, and I'm like, if they just knew it was okay to cry, that it's healthy, that women actually I'm gonna speak for myself. I had a boyfriend at the time after my divorce, and I'm like, "I wanna see you cry." And he's like, "No, but I'm a man. Like, what woman wants to see a grown man cry?" I'm like, "Me?" Because it means you're human, and it shows your vulnerable side, and it's not always like, "Me, man, I protect and I do this," and then it comes out in different ways. There's suppression of emotion comes out with, like, rage and anger and other stuff. It's, like, yucky. You don't wanna see that. Like, please, like, let me hold you. Let's cry together. Let's connect on our heart center and I know you're human. There was like, what was it called? It's funny that you say that because I'm seeing stuff like on Instagram and men are being more vulnerable now. There's this one reel going, when you hear something in your house and it's dark and it's like, let's say 4 in the morning, like the boyfriend or husband is supposed to like go check it out. And so this guy is like, I'm scared too. Like, what is down here? Because men are supposed to have that role of like protector. And then another guy said, yeah, when I come home, I just wanna feel safe with my partner, and you never hear that from a man. Safe? Like, you wanna feel safe? What does that mean? And they wanna be held, they wanna be nurtured, they wanna feel safe emotionally with their partner, and so they're craving it, I feel like, too. But it just needs to be known that women want a man to show emotion, show vulnerability, show the softer side because we all have the divine masculine, we all have the divine feminine in both of us. And it needs to be balanced to be healthy. And so when you have too much of the masculine side, that's going to come off with like the ego and the machismo and it's just like it's my way or their highway. Who wants that? I don't. I want a balance. Of course I want a man to have manly traits, but I also want you to have divine feminine traits because that's attractive to me too. And I think men are just so confused now because the divine feminine is changing and people are less likely to be in relationships now. They don't even want to date. They're scared. And because men don't really know how to act and they don't know what or women want anymore. And we are actually wanting equal. We want you to tap into your divine feminine. We don't need like the old toxic male ways anymore. We don't want that. So it's really when I see men struggle like that, because I have 2 boys, it hurts my heart so bad. And I think we just need to talk about it more. We need to make it more socially acceptable to see a man cry. Like, yes, there's men groups now that they go and it's just all men and they talk about feelings and they cry and they hold each other. Like before you'd be like, what are they doing? That's weird. Now I'm like, yes, yes, go cry, go hug each other, go tell, your male friend that it's fine that he feels vulnerable and not safe and scared. It's okay. We're human beings. We're not robots. So you're exactly right with the males and what's going on.
And particularly, I mean, you mentioned your 2 boys, and it's not just you, it's not just in the home. It's at the schools and the colleges and universities where somehow it still comes out. You got to be macho, and you got to portray this outside image of being masculine or chest out, stomach in, sort of a.
Totally.
Many people listening right now might relate to being busy and responsible and successful, but they still feel disconnected on the inside.
Mhm.
Do you recognize that feeling immediately, or did it take years for you to understand what was going on?
Years to understand what's going on because I didn't have those tools. I feel like, when I was younger, now people have tools. They have YouTube, they have Instagram. There's a holistic psychologist, and she'll give you, patterns on attachment style and what was toxic when you're growing up and what makes you that type of human. Like we have so many more tools, but way back when, I didn't really have any, so I wasn't sure what to do or how to handle life. And nowadays, wait, what was the question again? I got sidetracked.
Oh, no. So, just talking about people, and, a lot of them relate to being busy and responsible and successful. And, uh, but inside, they were very disconnected. So the
Right.
question was,
Right,
do
right.
you recognize that feeling? Like, did you recognize it immediately, or was it a period over years that kind of
Yeah, it was a
exposed
period of
itself? Mm,
years. It wasn't until I did somatic energy healing with Dr. John Amaral and realizing how disconnected I was, how my nervous system was in constant vigilance and even dorsal vagal shutdown where it wasn't even fight or flight. It was just like you stand still because you have nothing left in you. You're just in such shutdown. You're just like you can't even do anything. But I was still surviving doing that, doing my everyday tasks and trying to just shove it down and mask it and put a smile on my face and do this and that, and hang out with friends and take care of my boys and do my job because that's all I knew. And so now that I'm so much more aware of my nervous system, I do the meditation. I started doing qigong. So qigong, I was like, what is that? It's like a bunch of old people in the park like doing very slow movements. I never knew what it was. I was just like, oh, you do that when you're older because you can't go to the gym. No, 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 no. I had no clue. So Qigong has helped me also, along with meditation, tap into my life force field, which is, we can get life force from the earth, the chi, the prana, it's many names. And you can tap into the earth and put your feet on the ground and get it through that. You can get it through Qigong. You can get it through, some people need vigorous exercise, some people need like breath work, but you can energize that field on your own. But for me, because I was such an athlete as well. I did triathlon, I did Ironman. I was just always killing it at the gym rat. But I was like, that was so much worse for my nervous system because I was just going, going, going. And I needed vigorous exercise to actually feel. And that's actually bad for my nervous system. So now, okay, I do Qigong in the early morning when I'm awake and it's dark outside and it's like not my choice to be up that early, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to meditate and then I'm going to do some Qigong. And so I do purposeful Qigong with whatever I want to work at the time. Like now it's spring, so that correlates with the liver. And the liver is like anger, frustration, and type emotions that you haven't released. And I'm like, oh, that's very aligned. And I'm not like an angry person, but sometimes it does come up. And so my identity also is questioned where I'm like, Shannon, you're not an angry person. You're an energy healer. You're supposed to be like Zen, but I'm also human and I've also been repressing my emotions my whole life. And so anger will come up and it has come up lately. And I'm like, I need to get a hold on this. Like, what is this coming from? But it's years and years and years of pent up emotion. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do about it? Instead of yelling at everybody or like screaming in the car, which actually does help and it is healthy, I'm going to do Qigong for the liver. And so I do purposeful Qigong for the liver and opening up those meridians, allowing those pathways of energy to flow instead of like they're blocked. And that's when you have rage and anger. I'm opening them up and gosh, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. So it's like, I know now what it feels like to be dysregulated when I'm like in fight or flight. So just having awareness is key. Okay, I'm having explosive anger. People are making me mad at work and I don't feel good within my body. What needs to change? It's not them, it's you. Something's triggering you. Okay, what do I need to work on? So I'm like, okay, release energy in my liver, do meditations, ask my spirit guides, ask my angels, like my higher self, what do I need to work on at this time? And going to bed earlier, drinking water, going outside and grounding yourself. Like I'll sit in my window sometimes because I don't want to go outside, but I'll sit by my window and then close my eyes and let the sun be on my face for at least 10 minutes to get my cortisol levels. So it's like those practices are self-care and then it makes you feel good. And then without it, you're like, oh, I feel so dysregulated. You never want to go back to that state of like being unaware and not taking care of your body because your body will tell you and you're like, I need to go back to my routine. And I just started exercise program because I do exercise pretty much every day, but it's this new gym and they focus on your brain. And I was like, I've never heard of this. So I went today for the first time and they have you do all these exercises like walk on the treadmill or run and then you do weights and you do core and stuff like that. But when you're on the treadmill and you're either doing a sprint or you're walking, it has you do on the pad these mind games. And so you'll answer questions about like the English language or math, or it tricked you. It was like, what's this color? And it'll say yellow, but then the color that they put yellow is like blue. but then you're supposed to read, oh, I'm not supposed to, it says yellow, but the yellow is blue. So you have to press blue. So it tricks your mind. So even if you don't get it right, it's still making new neural pathways in your brain. And I was like, I had an epiphany on the treadmill. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It was just like, wow, this really works. And so I'm being more intentional on my workouts now. And I'm not just trying to kill it at the gym to kill it. I'm like, okay, I need to slow down, be more intentional on my weights, and then work my brain at the same time. And so, yeah, it's just so fun and cool once you figure things out within your body and what your body is telling you. It's just like you'll never go back to being asleep ever again. It's just the coolest thing.
The screaming part in the car.
Yeah.
Do you do that with the windows down or windows up? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm
Like,
kidding.
I want to know for a freeze.
So you walked away from a very successful corporate career to begin this healing work. Was there ever a moment where you questioned whether this journey was actually growth or whether you were just falling apart?
Yeah. Yes. Because when I left the corporate world, I did it for my children. And then I started my own business. And then when that closed, I tried to go back into corporate and it just wasn't working. I had too much of a gap in my resume. The universe kind of forced me, but of course I questioned it because I was trying to go back to the path that wasn't meant for me. But as I tried to get back into corporate, I had too big of a gap in my resume. But I also started a business and I went from idea to concept. I have 3 patents and a trademark. And I'm like, that should have some kind of clout. No, they would hire these kids straight out of college and pay them a really nice salary. And then it was ageism. Like I was just aged out because of my age. And so I was like, wow, okay. So I did various jobs, like I did legal recruiting, I did medical recruiting, I did real estate, property management, sold cybersecurity training. I feel like I've done everything. And I just kept getting laid off. And so these companies would get acquired and 6 months later I get laid off, or as a smaller company and they ran out of budget. And so I got laid off and I was like, why is this happening? And I was like, maybe I'm going to start doing my healing, like my Reiki, full time because I feel like I have nothing else. Otherwise, I just need to go to the grocery store and become a bagger. I don't know. Like I have all this knowledge and all this life experience, but then why am I keep getting laid off? And I'm not getting the job because the younger college kid is getting the job. So that's when you have to take a step back and you're like, okay, it's not them. It's something within me that's my energy field is attracting this. So I started doing Reiki and having clients and then just bringing them into my little apartment and getting success after that. People were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start seeing you every week. I'm like, really? Yay. I'm like, because I see the benefit, but you're going to keep coming back and giving me money? I'm like, yes. And then now it's like I'm doing somatic energy healing. And then I came up with this method and it's called the Soma Reset Method. I'm still writing the program, but I'm going to start teaching it. And it's to regulate your nervous system first, to release emotions, and then to reconnect with your body. And so through this work with everything that I've accumulated, all this knowledge, all these teachers, and then with somatic energy healing with Dr. Amaral, what I'm currently doing, I was like, man, how much this has helped me heal myself. Other people need this as well. And I need to be beyond just having like a client, private clients. I need to help the masses because we all need this. We're all changing. I feel like the world is changing. We're being more aware of what's going on in our government with, the UFOs and I don't know, like the Epstein files, like everything's like coming to the surface, all the darkness to be illuminated for us to realize what's actually really happening in our world. How do we deal with this? Because we collectively, as a collective, everybody on this planet, we're tapped into that life force field as well. We can feel the collective energy. And so sometimes you're like, I feel off today. I don't even know why. I'm feeling anxiety. We're tapped into the collective energy. And so how do you regulate your nervous system? A lot of people don't even know what that means. How do you release? Okay, so let's talk about the screaming in the car. That would be the release part. Screaming in the car. So your limbic brain recognizes emotion by tone, vibration, and movement. So what does that mean? When you're feeling an emotion come up, your brain will recognize it if you make a sound, tone and vibration. Like say you're angry about something and you're like, that tone and vibration is coming out and then moving your body. It's like a tuning fork to that place somatically that you're holding that anger. And then once it recognizes, like, oh, that's emotion we've been holding in our body, then it'll finally liberate and then it'll release out of your body. And so that's why men especially need to learn it's okay to have emotions because, okay, maybe you don't have a problem screaming, but a lot of men have problems, especially high functioning like CEO, high achievers. They have a problem with like crying. They have a problem with like the whimper. They don't want to hear that come out of their mouth. Like, what's the point of me crying and whimpering? Like, that makes me feel bad. I'm a man and I'm a high achiever. Actually, if you let that happen and you let the whimper and the cry out and the vulnerability, that is releasing that time and space that maybe you're a 5-year-old kid and something happened to you like on the playground and your best friend was mean to you and kicked you and stole your toy and that 5-year-old is still in there and releasing that whimper and that cry like, why did you do this to me? Why? You're my best friend and I thought, we had each other's backs, is coming out, and that's going to liberate you from having that trauma and that lens that you're viewing your life through. Sometimes you don't even have a reference point. Sometimes you don't even remember it happening. So emotions don't need a story. It just needs tone, vibration, and movement to be released. So that's part of what
Uh,
I want to teach people and then have classes where the area I'm in Malibu, but I also want to eventually have it online for everybody to participate because I just feel like this is so needed at this time for people to really heal because talk therapy can only do so much. Talking does help, but when it's caught in your body somatically, there's no way talking is going to help all of that. Like it needs to be combined.
yeah, I like what you said just now, making reference to your high performing individuals, your CEOs, and captains of the industry. And I often wonder whether these high performing professionals sometimes mistaken their emotional shutdown for actual
Yeah,
strength.
right. They
And
do.
I think it's alluding. I don't know how many of them, but yeah, they do. They do.
Well, if
Um,
you think about it, a lot of the
mm,
CEOs, they have narcissistic traits because you kind of have to be in that job to lay off tens of thousands of people and not blink an eye. Like, they shove it down so much because it's about the paper, and this is what we're to do to make the company successful, and those people are just numbers, and so they suppress emotion. Because how do you go home and sleep at night when you're like, "I just laid off all these people, and they have a family, they just had a baby, they bought a house," like, you can't think about it, and so a lot of them do suppress emotions, and then plus, in our day and age, emotions are showing vulnerability, and they don't wanna be viewed as vulnerable. They're like, "I'm the CEO and I am head of the company and I make things work." And to see me have an emotion, people are going to think less of me. And so we have to change this. We have to change the way we view and talk about and relate to people emotionally and connect with them on a heart space level instead of like everything's so binary and black and white and this is how it is. It's not like that. Life is messy and there's shades of gray.
it's that black and white that you speak of, which I think a big part of it is also being in survival mode. But
Yeah.
when do you think that begins to, or when do you think that the body starts to tell the truth? Let's put it that way.
The body is always speaking to you. So when you have chronic pain, a lot of men have like lower back pain, and that's usually financial stress. Your body will tell you by pain because pain is easier to feel than the emotion. And so when you suppress emotions, it'll show up as physical pain. Now, not all physical pain is emotional. Some is actually, I did pick something up and hurt my back. Other times when you have chronic pain and you're like, I don't even know what I did, a lot of times that's emotions being stored in that area. And sometimes it is like very specific where the lower back is financial. But other times it's just caught somatically in your body for whatever reason. And so your body speaks to you, and the more you repress it, the more it'll get stiff, the more you won't be able to move. Like my shoulder had, oh my gosh, I think it's gone. No, it's still there just a little bit. But on my left shoulder, the left is the feminine, the right is the masculine. And shoulder is like the same area as your heart chakra. And so I was like, wow, I have frozen shoulder. It hurts to like move it. I can barely use it. And it ended up being an emotion that was tied to my mom. And I was like, you never think of like having pain because I've had so much pain in the shoulder for many, many years. But then once I tapped into it, I was like, oh my God, this is grief. this is grief from my mom. And once I release that emotion, it's pretty much I have full range now. So it's
The,
very
the,
interesting what your body does and tells you it's when it's tied to emotion, it'll just keep hurting until you release that emotion.
this understanding of how the body functions or not functions, did this come from your work with Dr. John Amaral? Is that
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So, did he help you understand about the body that changed the way you saw healing, pretty much?
Yes, because he's a chiropractor, him and his wife, they're chiropractors, and so they went to school for chiropractic, but then learned from Donnie Epstein, who does network spine. So John and Christina developed somatic energy healing, where it's not only working on the body, it's working in the field as well and combining, like being a bridge for both. And so I learned other teachings from other people too, but he really like dialed it in. I was like, oh, okay, I understand now. So we work within the spinal system, starting from C1, your atlas, all the way down to your tailbone, your coccyx. And there's access points all over your body. So I had to learn the spine and I had to learn to palpate the body and feel with my hands, like the passive system, which is your discs, ligaments, vertebrae, fascia. And when there's a lot of energy in there, it means there's a reflection of your field. There's not a lot of energy in your field, but it's like very tense on your body. There's dissonance in that field. And so if you have high passive, meaning like your spine is pretty much a 3 plus to a 5 because the scale is 0 to 5. A 5 would be like knocking on steel wood. 3 plus to 5, you're like, okay, they need energy in their life force field. So I know to work just on their life force field. And then if you go to their active system, which is your muscles and your tendons, and you palpate feeling their muscles and tendons, you can feel like areas of fuzziness. And like sometimes people have like, it's like rings on a tree. Like I was feeling somebody's back the other day and it felt like a finger in their back. And it was like a muscle that was hard and it's just like this little finger. And so Dr. Amaral's like, yeah, that has been, it's like rings on a tree. That muscle has tension in there from some kind of emotional suppression for a long time, probably 10 plus years. And so, they've been in that state for a long time because it's held in their body. And so just by palpation, I can tell what's going on in your body and how long you've been holding it for, or like an estimate. And so, yeah, this work has been amazing with learning the body, learning to touch the body, and then body will tell you. So when I do checks on your body for passive, active, and then your neural checks are telling me. So I go down to your legs and I do heel traction that tells me what's going on in your lower mind. If I do heel eversion and there's tension there, it's your higher mind. If I take your legs and push them together for your adduction, that is for if you're suppressing emotions. And if I pull them apart for abduction, that's you're in victim mode. Something happened to me. So your body is telling me exactly what state you're in and where to start working. And so it's so smart and it's so nuanced. And you're like, it's just so fascinating, the body, because people will tell you, oh no, everything's fine. And you're like, okay, lay down on my table. And I'm like, no, no, it's not. Your body's telling me something different.
And then there's this emotional numbness. I mean, is this something that people choose for themselves, or is this something that your body chooses for you?
The emotional what?
Numbness?
Numbness? No, your body is doing its thing. And so when you have, let's see, did I say numbness? Did I say being numb?
Well, I think you alluded to it when you bring both the legs together and in adduction.
Adduction, it's suppression of emotions. And so I guess you could be numb, like numb to your emotional field. And yeah, so your body is keeping score throughout life, even though you're like, no, I'm fine. Because suppressing of emotions, you're like, I'm going to think my way through what's going on right now. I'm not going to feel it because feeling, like, what's the point of feeling? For me, when my nervous system was in fight or flight, you don't have time to feel emotion. Think about being chased by a saber-toothed tiger in the caveman days. Like, you don't have time to like feel scared. You're just like, of course you feel scared, but you don't have time to like release that emotion. You're running for your life. And so you are numbing out. And then that's where people are like doom scrolling, they're smoking pot, they're drinking, they're doing all these behaviors that are numbing to not feel. And so like I'll catch myself still doing that. I'm like, okay, get off your phone, quit looking at funny Instagram memes or like animal funny things. And I'm like, okay, you need to deal with what's going on right now. But to sit in that, it's uncomfortable to think those thoughts, to have the emotions come up. But as Michael Singer says, the samskara is just energy. It's just energy trying to come up. And when you have thoughts that are like negative thoughts, it's just energy trying to come up to deal with them so they can be liberated. He actually, Michael Singer suggests just letting them come up. Because as you say, okay, say you had thoughts coming up saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, like who's gonna want you, like I'm not smart enough, whatever comes out, let it. Because it's something that you've thought at one space and time and it's trying to be acknowledged. So once you acknowledge it and you even repeat it, yeah, I feel like a POS. Yes, I feel like I'm never gonna meet anybody. Just acknowledging it without trying to change it, then you feel so much better because that energy is liberated and you're like, and then the ruminating thoughts stop because that energy got to dissipate. And you're just like, wow, this is amazing. You did think it at some time and space. Maybe it was a long time ago. Maybe it was like 30 years ago, but it was at some time and space you did think that and it got stuck in your body somatically. So just letting it come up with no judgment and even repeating it, you're like, who cares? It's not what I think now. And then it helps liberate that energy. So the body is so smart.
Shannon, do you believe that the people who hurt you the most are your greatest teachers?
Oh, definitely. And they say spiritually, the people who cause you the most pain are the ones who love you the most on the other side. Now, that doesn't give the excuse to let them keep hurting you, but the people who've given you the hardest lessons, if you take the beauty out of it and you see the growth that came of it, I'm like, thank you. Thank you for the trauma I endured during childhood because it made me hypersensitive to energy. It made me hypersensitive to like tune into my body and how can I regulate my system and how can I help people because I've helped myself and I'm going to keep healing my trauma. I'm going to keep working on myself for the rest of my life. And then that's going to feed onto my clients, to my kids, to my family. It's just like I wouldn't be who I am today without those hard lessons with those people who did the things that they did to me. So that's where you can find is it's not, because they say forgiving, you can forgive, but it's not being okay with what they did to you. It's just like releasing that emotional charge of you did this to me. Yes, it happened, but it made me who I am today. And then so it's called integration. So it's not wiping away, you did this to me and I'm just going to shove it down. You're like, okay, it happened. And then this is what the growth I had from it. And so you're just integrating that. And then it's like taking your shadow part and dancing with your shadow and your demons. You're like, hey, let's hang out. Like, what's your name? Instead of fighting them the whole time. You're like, okay, those are parts of me that I wanted to shove down and repress and felt bad about myself. But no, I'm going to like, let's get to know each other. So it doesn't have that charge anymore. It's just like part of who you are. So yeah, I definitely am thankful for everything I've gone through because it just makes me a better human. It makes me a better mom, a better friend, a better work colleague, a better guide and teacher and energy healer because I wouldn't be me without all those things. I wonder about that. If I was given different parents and different circumstances, like who would I be? Would I have been a little monster? Would I have been like entitled little princess? I don't know. But I like who I am and I like who I'm becoming. So I'm grateful for the Shannon and all the work that I've done. And I can't wait to help other people because I'm proof like it works. And
I was listening to another podcast, and one of the references they made was the gentleman was a lot older than the host. And he says, guys, there is no happy ending. There is no, that you're going to work hard and once the struggle's over, you're going to be with all your friends and families and you're going to go fishing with your friends. Guys, there is no happy ending. Life is a roller coaster. It's going to be up and it's going to be down, and you're going to continue to do that till the day you die. And you begin to realize it when you hit your 40s, pretty much.
yeah,
That this forgiveness, I mean, is it something that we do for others or something we do to free ourselves?
it's something to free ourselves. It was so confusing when this topic came up a while ago on forgiveness. I just remember Oprah talking about it. And you're just like, I think we need to come up with a new word because you think of forgiveness and it makes you think of like forgiving that person for doing something to you. And you still feel like there's power being taken away from you by forgiving. And you're like, no, no, no. I'm going to take my power back. And it's not forgiving you and what you've done, but it's just releasing that hold of you did this to me and I'm resentful and it changed my life for, not the better at the time. And so just releasing that hold and just letting it go. And sometimes you have to forgive yourself because you put up with it. It's like, oh my gosh, why did I put up with that for so long? So I've had to forgive myself too, because I didn't have the tools then. I didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't have the knowledge. And so, yeah, right now I'm still actively working on forgiving my parents. Like it's not all gone. And I'm not going to claim to be like, oh my gosh, I'm enlightened and I forgave everybody. No, it's still work in progress for me. A lot of it's gone, but I still like, it's still there when you feel the charge of it, when you think about things, or if you go home for family holiday and you're like, oh, you're like, okay, that charge is still there. I still need to work on that. So I did scream the other day and my voice is going, I screamed in the car because I had anger and I let it out. And so tone and vibration movement, it got liberated. But anyway, um, yeah, forgiveness is hard if you make it hard. And so you just have to wrap your brain around it's not being okay with what they did, but it's just releasing that hold of having that control of your life anymore. You're like, no more. I can't. I'm tired. Like I forgive you and I became a better version of myself because of what you did. So in fact, like I'm thankful. So thank you for the gift.
I know you just mentioned perhaps we should find another word for forgiveness.
Yeah, I think we need
What do you
to.
think? I don't know. I accept what you've done to me. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
It's a play of words, right? But each
Right.
one means something different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good start. It's just like accepting what happened and being okay with the lesson because everything we attract is a lesson, everything. And so, even when it's perceived as hard or why did this happen to me? Why did that person do that to me? What did you learn from it? And if you don't learn the lesson, it's just going to come back with another person, and just with a different face. So you're like, okay, you're trying to teach me something right now. What is this? For me in my life, I'm attracting a lot of people who do not have boundaries and speaking up with my throat chakra, like speaking up for myself and creating boundaries because I had zero boundaries because I was such a people pleaser. Oh my gosh, whatever you want. And I'm not saying anything because I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to cause waves. And so it's constantly like, what do they need? And I just want to stay safe and not argue or not have anybody raise their emotional level because I couldn't handle it. So I'm experiencing that right now where I'm like, I have a lot of people who are just testing my boundaries and I'm like, I need to speak up for myself and say it at the beginning instead of let it go on and on and on where I get frustrated and I'm screaming in the car. So I'm like, that's a lesson for me. And I attracted that because I need that lesson. And so you always have to put it back on yourself like, why am I keep attracting these type of people? Because I need this lesson. So if you view life that way, everything's happening for you, not to you. You're needing this lesson. And then once you get it, then you're going to stop attracting those people. But even if you do, you're going to like nip it in the bud right away. And so you needed that person to do that to you, to learn that lesson, to become a more well-rounded human being and who you're actually wanting to become. You needed that lesson. So I totally view it, even though it's annoying at the time and you're like, wow, this is hard. You're like, I know why this is happening. And I'm going to change my behavior. I'm going to speak up at the beginning instead of the end where I'm pulling my hair out and have to do liver qigong in the morning
And scream in the car.
and scream in the car or my voice hurts. And then you're like, okay, I don't want to do that. Do it at the beginning.
Shannon, if you hadn't done this healing work, who do you think you would be today?
Yeah, I know, it's so sad, like, I feel so sad for that Shannon. I would still be the Shannon who is people pleasing, "What can I do for you?" And I have no needs, and I don't even know that I have needs, and a doormat, letting people just run all over me and just being scared of my own shadow, just not feeling like I can take up space on this earth. I'm still exiting my body and finding ways to cope and hiding. I was constantly hiding. Like in a room, I would just want to be in the back in a wallflower. Now I'm like, wow, I can take up space. I have a lot of knowledge and I have a lot to say. And I need to get over having the fear of being seen, like with all eyes on me. Like I'm okay with podcasts, but I'm like trying to get used to having a crowd of people look at me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is really hard. But the old me would have been like, heck no. Heck no, am I ever doing that. Now I'm writing in my journal, I'm gonna be on a TED Talk. I'm gonna be on a stage telling my story. I can't believe I just said that. Universe, okay, it's out, it's out. But yeah, because I just feel like so many people can learn from my story and I can give them the tips and tools to like how to cope. Because I'm not the only one living the way I was living. There's so many people in fight or flight or freeze or dorsal vagal shutdown or constantly numbing through whatever they're doing because they don't know how to cope because they weren't given the tools. So I'm like, okay, this is my time and space to be more seen and heard. And it's okay to be here in this body and I'm meant to be here at this time. And I was meant to go through the stuff I was meant through to go through in order to help others and help the collective and also help myself. So yeah, that poor little Shannon, I just want to like give her a hug and say, it's okay. Like the 5-year-old me, like, it's okay. And we're going to make it. So I'll do that in my mind sometimes, like go give her a hug, the hug that she never got, that the person that was there to tell her she's safe that I never got. I do it to little Shannon. And it's just so beautiful. I'm like, come here, I got you. Like, we got this. Thank you. Right. Oh my gosh. Now I'm nervous. Okay, well, I did write it in my journal. I'm like, okay, I'll have to do a lot of qigong and a lot of breath work. And like, all these eyeballs, but it's fine. It's fine. I think it's time. Exactly. Thank you for that. I enjoyed it so much. I wanna compliment you. You hold space so well, and your energy field, like, I can feel it through the camera. Like, you just have this very calming aura about you, and so you make people feel safe to tell their story, and so, yeah, it was very pleasant to be on your podcast, so thank you. Yes, of course. You're welcome. I love that. Thank you, you too. Bye.